Hey, good evening. It's Thursday, October 10th, and welcome back to Everyday Talk 24/7. I've been thinking about the storms a lot, and Milton last night didn't do quite the damage to Tampa, but to other places south of Tampa, to places throughout the Florida Peninsula where there were tornadoes, record numbers of tornadoes, and then there was damage and storm surge on the east coast of Florida. The Lord doesn't do anything at random. And I was thinking about the recent occurrence of Milton and Helene together. And one thing about the areas that they struck, they were in common. Now, if you look at the geography of it, you've got these mountains in North Carolina, western North Carolina, entirely different than the beaches and the flatlands of the middle part of Florida, where Milton went. But there's one thing that Helene and Milton have in common in terms of the place they went. Both of these areas are areas of refuge, of safety. Don't misunderstand me, there's a lot of good folks that live in these areas. But we go to these areas for relaxation. People from all over the country go to western North Carolina to enjoy the peaceful views there. People literally from all over the world go to Florida, especially that central band of Florida, with all the parks and the enjoyment and the things that are there. They go there for rest and relaxation. They go there for as kind of a refuge. And what God has done in both of those places, at least for the short term, said no. Travel is pretty much impassable and impossible in North Carolina. And things are pretty much of a wreck now in the central part of Florida, at least for the short term. God doesn't do things at random. And we tend to think of him as being harsh or demanding in a negative way. But he wants all of us to run to him for refuge. Listen to what David is saying in Psalm 34 when he finds refuge in God. Because he had made a mistake, he had messed up, and yet he found comfort in God. Listen to verses 6 through 8. David says, "This poor man called," meaning himself, "and the Lord heard him. He saved him out of all of his troubles. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them." So even his people that were in the mess and the devastation of North Carolina, those who are in Florida and felt this wrath of the storms, the Lord encamps around them. But here's the passage I want to get to in verse 8. "Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him." Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Not simply in the theme parks, not simply in the beautiful beaches and the lovely mountains and the enjoyable things that we do, but takes refuge in God. And God is calling out, "Try me out, taste and see if I am good." Don't run to all these other places first. It's fine to do things for vacations, enjoyment. I'm all for that. But not in the place of God. God is always there. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. If we only take refuge in the gifts that God gives us, in the beautiful scenery, in the calming, probably both sitting on the ocean, and enjoying the ocean coming in, spending the night there, spending time in the mountains in North Carolina. It's incredibly peaceful. But it's because I know God is there. God doesn't do things at random. Helene and Milton are not random. One possible, I'm not talking as a prophet or anything like that, but one possible takeaway from these storms and the places they hit is that God is telling us, don't take refuge in the things that are made. Take refuge in the one who made them. That's what God wants us to be about. I think that's at least an underlying message here. With these two places where we go to for rest and relaxation, for refuge, for peace and enjoyment, all of that. God is saying, they aren't the place. I am the place. I am the place of refuge and safety. I am the place that will bring comfort to you. So he says, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. God is calling us to take refuge in him. You know, in much of the United States tonight, there's a possibility that we're going to see northern lights again. That's also a blessing, but it's also a warning to us. Because the power grid is threatened by these displays. It's something we've got to be aware of as well. Even in the beauty, God's power is there. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Take refuge in him. And not in the things that are created by themselves, but in the person and safety of God. And that's the thought for this night. Take refuge in him. And Lord willing, we'll talk to you tomorrow. You have a great night. Bye-bye.